What's that other prom story? I've said the other prom story on stream before. I actually went to prom twice. Hey, instead of watch this guy, Phil Canonless, maybe get my YouTubes. It's out now. It's out now. Also taller than Schlats. Ooh, wow, crazy. It's like because of the joke. I can't believe that happened to me. I went to prom my junior year as well. Now, our school didn't have a junior year prom, but some schools do. My school didn't have a junior prom, but one of the neighboring schools, like one of those private schools that like a bunch of people who I went to elementary school did. And one girl, Emma, who I was like friends with in like 3rd grade to like 5th grade, messaged me out of the blue. And she's one of the people that went to a private school and was like, yo, bear in mind, this is junior year of high school. We probably hadn't talked in 3 years. So I was like, yo. And she was like, hey, I know this is weird, but I have nobody to go to prom with. I've asked everyone. And then she went through an exhaustive list of everybody she tried asking and said, will you go to prom with me? On text. And I was like, sure. I didn't like Emma. I didn't really even know Emma that well at the point, but it seemed like I was her last hope, and I didn't want her to go to prom by herself. Even if it was junior year prom, which doesn't really count or fucking matter, and honestly, it's just a big scam. Senior year prom kind of matters. Junior year prom, giant scam. So, I say yes. Prom was that weekend. She messaged me on like a Thursday. I got everything together. I got a suit. I patched everything. I didn't look the best a man could. I didn't spend that much money on it, but I got it done. I do all the pictures with her. I hang out with her friends, her family. All the pre-prom shit that you need to do. And me and her friends roll up to the joint in a limo. And it's some very tacky, very ugly, Paris-themed prom. But I'm like, hey, whatever. It is what it is. And the moment we get to the venue, she's like, I'm going to go talk to some friends. I'll be right back. And she leaves me at a table with the group that we arrived with. I'm getting along with everyone. We're talking. We're chilling. We're having a good time. After a while passes, I realize I haven't seen Emma in like 30 minutes. And I look around and don't see her at any other table. And then my eyes make their way over to the dance floor. And I see her dancing with a dude. I'm like, all right, whatever. It's not a big deal. It's not like I like her. That's fine. I go back to the table. And I happen to bring up to the table that I was like, oh yeah, I saw Emma dancing with some dude. Everybody at the table went to the school and was friends with Emma. And they were like, uh-oh. And I was like, what? What happened? Apparently, that was the guy Emma liked and wanted to go to prom with, but he said no Meggies and went with another girl. But she was still so obsessed with him, or liked him so much, that he was like dancing with her even though he had like another date. I don't know what the fucking situation was, the love triangle was. All I know is that I was getting cooked. I mean, it's not like we were set for marriage, but I'm sitting there, went out of my way to go to prom with her, and then she's there, dancing with the other guy. And I'm like, again, not a big deal. All right, she'll just do a dance with him. He'll go back to his date. I'll go back to mine. And we'll just have a nice night. Well, prom lasts about 3 hours. For the entire 3 hours, she is hanging out and talking with him. The entire time! I did not see her once. I basically was just there to take pictures with at the beginning and escort her into the building, let her schmooze on the dude, and then escort her home. I was a true verifiable cuck. Did you ever get revenge? No. I think she apologized. But I'm pretty sure she's like allergic to the sun or some shit, so end of the day, I'm winning in life. All right, let's hit this. I wasn't that good with women in high school. Pretty much all of my stories from high school with women are kind of embarrassing. Just in high school? Kind of, yeah. I remember there was a moment in college where I was really nervous. I was really, really nervous. I'd already lost my virginity at this point, but I was still nervous about like hooking up with a girl. And then I just did. And then we started dating, and I thought she was like, I don't know, something clicked. At one point, I realized in my life that like nobody's out of your league, and that they're just fucking girls, and they shit and fart, and they also bleed out of their pee-pee hole, which is yuck and grosser than guys, and they're not that scary. And ever since then, I've been better with women. What was your worst high school story? I think I've told most of them at one point or another. I got like 3 stories in my mind that are the most embarrassing. I'll tell one I haven't told in a while. The most embarrassing story was actually also very PogChamp for me at the time. It was about when I had a girl come over to my place and we got a little freaky. I think it was junior year, maybe senior year, and there was this girl I liked, and we'd been talking for a bit, and we had some pretty hardcore feelings, but had never expressed them sexually, to put it mildly. And then one day, I invited her over to my house, and my mom happened to not be home, and she happened to not be coming home for another hour, so I had the house to myself. And we're lying down on my childhood bed, which was a twin bed with a backboard cubby that you could put things into. And I had one of those things that apparently every household did back in the day. I don't know why everybody bought this. They ended up getting really disgusting, but it was like those pillows that were armchairs too. But I had that on the very back in front of the cubby on the twin bed. The girl kind of like lying down on it, like sitting upright. And then me on top, making out. And I'm distracted enough as is with the making out. But then I start noticing that much like a square peg goes in a square hole, my peg is not too far off from fitting in. And I'm like, interesting. This is very interesting. But I'm trying to ignore it. It's not like I have a condom. We're not going to have sex. I'm a virgin, verifiable. But it becomes a little too hard to ignore. And so after, and I'm not making this up, 10 minutes of making out, I bust one. I fucking busted from like baby dry humping. And immediately panic sets in. And I'm like, fuck, what if she notices? How do I talk myself out of this? The post-nut clarity hits me, and it hits me hard. That's not where the story ends. I wish it was. I cut off the makeout. And I go into the guest room because she beelines towards the bathroom. Not a word between us. I don't know if she knows. And I throw my underwear under the guest bed. And in a panic, I just throw back on my shorts commando. And I come back out. I'm flustered. She's flustered. I think we both have a deep understanding of what happened, but not a word transmits between us. And she drives off home. And I'm chilling in my house by myself, thinking about what happened, when my mom comes home. And at that point, it's been about 45 minutes, so I'm a little more chill. And I'm like, yo, what's up, Ma? And she's like, hey, what's that? And I'm like, what's what? She's like, on your shorts. I hadn't noticed, but because of the quality of my shorts were so old. I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys. But the quality of the shorts were so bad because they were so old that the fabric got stretched just a bit. And it created these white circles in like 4 distinct spots everywhere on my shorts. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. That's weird. That's Weird Champ. Before Weird Champ was Weird Champ. And she's like, huh, okay. And we go about our day. 3 hours later, she knocks on my door, comes in my room. She's like, hey, Ludwig, I'm like, what's up? She's like, hey, I found this under the guest bed. And for some reason, this bitch snooped around the house because boomers love cleaning and went under the guest bed. We didn't even have guests over. Why is she cleaning the guest bed on a Thursday afternoon? Who does that? It's so weird. Why do you do that? I got nothing. I got nothing. What do you say? So I lie? Oh, I don't know. I was from this guy. This is when I was playing glue. It was a glue marker, and I'm flicking the pen on his melted. She's like, uh-huh. Yeah, don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I wouldn't do something I was doing. I was just playing with glue bottles, hot glue gun, a scary world out there. So many monsters. And I wasn't allowed to have people over without permission after that.
Why do parents ask questions they don't want the answer to?
They want to know if their child will lie to them, and we always do. I don't. So what do you say, Stans? In that scenario, you go, yo, I was actually dry humping and I pre-came. My B, I ditched your shorts under there because I didn't want the girl to know. Yeah? You're badass. I would do that nowadays. Back then, I didn't have the balls. Stans is right, though. If you actually just tell the truth, you end up developing a really cool relationship with your parents where you're allowed to have those conversations. And then instead of, like, navigating the world by yourself, which is, like, so scary and impossible sometimes, they, like, help you out. Any other high school stories? There's the classics. I've said these two a lot before. But I guess I probably haven't said them since I had, like, 2,000 viewers. Tell us another cum story. I don't have a cum story. I have a makeout story. So one of them, the first one, 10th grade, I would ride the school bus every day because I didn't have my license yet. And my sister had left for college because she would drive me to school 9th grade. So 10th grade, I returned to being a school bus guy, which, and this is just my experience, was kind of lame. For my age, if you're 16, you should be driving yourself. The school bus was mostly like middle schoolers. So I was one of the few people in high school and one of the very few people in 10th grade on the school bus. There was one other cool person on the school bus because I had no friends on the school bus. Everybody else drove. It was a junior, and her name was Olivia. And she was bad. Olivia was a bad bitch. And so me and Olivia would start hanging out, and we'd start talking on the school bus. But she was dating another guy named Steven. So we were just friends, and look, I was pretty funny. I dropped some lol W's before lol W's were lol W's. And that was the extent of our relationship. Until a website came out. Not Pornhub. The website was called Ask FM. If you guys are Zoomers, you might not know, but it was a website that allowed you to answer questions that were asked anonymously from people in your social circle. You would post your Ask FM in your Twitter or on Facebook. People would anonymously ask questions and you would answer them. And it was really just another way for high school people to flirt. And that was pretty much it. And so Olivia happened to get Ask FM. And then my 3-head started evolving into a 5-head. And I thought, there's something here I can do. Because now I knew that Olivia had an Ask FM. I thought she was bad. I've heard rumors that her and Steven's relationship is fractured, having some problems. So I slide into her Ask FM and I ask a harmless question anonymously. And it was kind of a ballsy question, but I felt pretty confident because of the conversations and the good lulls we've had on the bus. I asked her, you probably won't be able to guess it. I said, who's the funniest guy you know? And originally, it was just a shot in the dark. I wasn't sure what to expect. Until she answers. And she goes, and I quote, that's kind of a hard question, but recently, it's been Ludwig. And I'm dropping Pog U's, Pog Champs, Pag Chomps left and right, reading this, knowing I'm in. How am I going to bring this up to her on the school bus? Because I'm in a conundrum. I asked the question anonymously. I baited out the answer I wanted, but I can't bring up the question or else it's too sus. So the next day on the school bus, we're talking, dropping jokes, and I open up her Twitter, and I see her in her bio is like her Ask FM, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. You have an Ask FM? She's like, oh yeah, I opened it recently. I was like, oh, let's like look at it or something. That'd be stupid. That'd be crazy. And she's like, oh my god, don't. That'd be so dumb. And I was like, oh my god, it would be dumb. Let's do it. So I open it up, and what do you know? The most recent question is, who's the funniest guy you know? The answer, me. So I look at her and I'm like, what? And she's like blushing. She's like, I don't know. It's like, whatever. And then I dropped the most brazen thing I could have. I go, what about like Steven? I thought he was kind of funny. And she goes, oh, we're not really talking anymore. And so I go, oh, that sucks. Man, when did that happen? That's such a shame. That's such a shame. High school relationships, huh? Never know you can trust. Never know you can trust these days. And a week after the Ask FM gambit, I ask her if she wants to hang out. We go to her place and we watch The Notebook. She picked me up with her mom's car from my house. We only live like a couple streets away. We're watching The Notebook and she starts cuddling with me. And I'm like, But I remember she did warn me when we were texting about hanging out that she had just gotten out of the relationship with Steven and wasn't looking for anything serious and just kind of wanted to hang out. And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever, yeah, let's hang out. So we watched The Notebook, and at the end of it, Peepaw gets a couple kisses, a couple smoochies. We start making out a bit. And I'm like, here I am. One of the baddest girls in junior year. I'm only a sophomore, and I'm at her place, and we're smooching. So she drives me back to her place, or my place, and then gets out of her car. And we talk a bit, and we're just hanging out, basically in my driveway, saying goodbye. Getting a couple more smooches in. And I notice she's wearing a ring. And I'm like, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's a Claudia ring. It has a heart on it, and based off how you wear it, it signifies if you're in a relationship or not. And I'm like, cool. Can I see it? She's like, yeah, sure. And then this is where it all crumbles down. She hands me the ring. I look at it, and then an idea that would bring the downfall of this perfect day. My big idea was that when I put it back on her hand, I would flip it into the taken position, signifying she was in a relationship. The implication, with me. The plan is there. The idea, I'm in too deep. The idea is it has too much of a grasp of my mind. So, the idea enters my mind. I'll put the ring back on in the dating position. I start the mission, flipping the ring in my hands, grabbing her hand, placing it on. She looks down. Her eyes widen as she begins to realize what I'm doing. She looks up and she goes, "What are you doing?" I look back to her and I said, "Will you be my girlfriend?" She looks back at me. Down at the ring. Back at me. What felt like for hours until she replies, "No. I told you, I'm not interested in a relationship. I just broke up with Steven like a week ago." You know, I had a lot of fun hanging out, but if you're not going to be able to respect, like, how I feel about this, I feel like we're not going to be able to hang out.
Squad now.
She drives away. I see her on the bus over the next couple weeks. But anytime I try to open a conversation, she shuts it down in a way only girls in high school can, emotionlessly and quickly. And my dream of dating an upperclassman shattered, all off of a dumb idea. In the bag, literally at Bowser Throws at 19, 18 even, and I choked it. I choked the PB. I got too greedy.
Young Ludwig was a mix of Chad and simp, but they both came out at the worst times.
Yeah, I think like most boys in high school, I put such a big emphasis on getting invited to parties, hanging out with girls, and losing my virginity. And then one day I was like, man, I just don't care. And everything was better. I did get invited to parties. Not until my junior year. There was always like a cool group of kids who like started smoking weed in middle school, who were all badass when I was still like shitting and farting, and that's pretty much the max of my capabilities. It turns out a lot of the cool kids didn't have the coolest outcomes in their lives, but they were still badass in high school. I got invited to some parties junior year, and I remember one of the first house parties I got invited to. I was friends with one girl. She was kind of in the cool girls club, and we had honors choir together. And like, you know, I had a baby crush on her at some points in my life. We went to school for 18 years together, and much to my surprise, she had a crush on me at some points. So, I remember one time after a choir concert, I invited her back to mine under the guise that we would work on some duet together for some guitar night in the school. And then I didn't gain the balls to finally kiss her until she was leaving. And then we hot and heavy made out. And then she was like, "Why didn't you do this an hour ago?" And I was like, fuck, why didn't I do this an hour ago? Because she had already texted her parents she was on her way home. And that set the stage for Saturday night's party at Lori's house. Her parents out of town. And Lori had a pretty badass house. All the cool kids were going, and I was invited because Choir Girl invited me. So I get all ready for the night of the party. I'm wearing one of my nice Polo Ralph Lauren shirts with the embroidered Polo Ralph Lauren logo. I was wearing my finest cargo shorts, enough to fit any gadget or gizmo you needed. And I strolled up like I was the shit. And in my mind, we were going to be like hardcore making out at the party or sneak into the parents' bedroom. But it mostly ended up just being like a group of people all in the living room and you weren't allowed upstairs. And I was too pussy to be like, let's break the rules. And I think she would have been uncomfortable with that idea too. But my opportunity came when she was going home. Much like the first time we kissed. And she was like, hey, I'm headed out. And I was like, hey, I'll walk you to your car. So I'm walking her back to her car. It's the dead of night. It's dark out. And then we get to her car. But that's just a precursor for the hot and heavy makeout that's to come. I mean, it's steamy. If this was in a movie, it would push it to R-rated. I'm sure of it. We're going for like a full minute. And then we're like slipping tongue. It's deep French. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with the tongue exactly, but I know it's going out of its way to do the most. And it's getting all wet in there. It's a wet makeout, but I don't mind because I'm horny. I'm liking it. And then it's getting really wet. And I'm like, hell yeah, she's getting in there too. And then it's like tasting a bit like metal. And I'm like, that's weird. That's weird. Why does it taste like metal? And then I realize I'm having a bloody nose. And I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. And it's dark out, so we can't really see what's going on. I'm just praying that there's not too much blood on her. And then I open my phone flashlight, and it literally looks like some terribly racist high school interpretation of Native American face art. It's all over her face. I thought that shit from anime was fake. I thought Master Roshi was just a meme, but apparently it's kind of real. I bled up a storm. And she's kind of freaking out. Because not only she has to go home and like see her parents, but she also doesn't like blood on her face. Which, under the circumstances, reasonable. So I'm like, fuck. She's like, one Chipotle napkin. I'm like, here, take my shirt. I give her my shirt and she wipes everything off. Everything's good. And then she drives home. I go into my car. I have like a spare shirt. I patch myself up the best way I can. Whatever. Look, it sucks. It's not a big deal, but it's an embarrassing moment shared between us. It happens. I walk back into the party. Everybody's staring at me. And then the realization dawns upon me that perhaps Choir Girl wasn't as tight-lipped as I had hoped she would be. And Taryn, the clown as he always is, looks over and he's like, how's the nose, bud? She texted somebody at the party and they told everybody! Everybody knew! She was loose-lipped about the affair. I had not expressly made it that it needed to be a secret, but for fuck's sake! As you guys can probably tell, I'm always good at taking it on the chin and, laughing off the joke. But we did start hanging out less frequently after that. I wish I could say that was the last time that something like that had happened, but I think there are 3 separate girls in multiple different occasions where I accidentally had a bloody nose while getting hot and heavy. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like too much pressure on the nose making out. They're getting too rough. High school girls get a little rough with your face. My nose is sensitive. I cannot handle the amount of pressure they are applying onto my nostrils. It was 3 different girls over the span of 4 different years. Hasn't happened to me in a while, thank God. It has not happened to me in a while, I just said, thank God. I said not recently, chat.